This is the Stine Seedcast. I'm your host, David Thompson. Join me as we visit with growers, agronomists, seed experts, and other industry professionals about seed, agronomy, and the business of farming. Hello. Today, our guest on the Seedcast is Stine Regional Sales Agronomist Dustin Ellis. Thanks for joining us, Dustin.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it.
So in this episode of Agriculture Around the U.S., we're going to feature the birthplace of Stine Seed Company, right here in the heart of Iowa. As the RSA for Stine's Region 4, Dustin represents this very part of central and northwestern Iowa, where he supports his team of independent sales reps on the ground and helps our growers place the right products on the right acres. Today, we'll discuss the agricultural landscape of his region, product performance, and his priorities for 2025. So, let's get started. Well, so Dustin, this is a special episode for me because, I'm from right here in central Iowa, and you are not only one of our regional agronomists, but you're technically my regional agronomist
Exactly.
Right here in the central part of Iowa. So glad to have you on this episode. So like I like to do at the start of every episode, kind of get a little bit of a level set. Tell us about your background. Tell us where you came from and kind of what brought you to Stine Seed Company.
Yeah, so I grew up in Knoxville, Iowa. I lived in Knoxville, Iowa my whole entire life. I was raised on an acreage. I actually grew up, my dad, we had a construction business. I ran bulldozers and scrapers, stuff like that. So I was always involved in that side of it. We did a lot of work for growers and stuff. My grandpa actually, though, was one of the largest growers in Marion County back in the 60s and 70s. And he retired in 1975. And unfortunately, my dad wasn't able to take over the farm. So anyway, so I've always had farming in the background. So I went to Knoxville High School. I graduated. I went down to Northwest Missouri, down in Maryville, Missouri. I graduated in 1998 from there, and I started in the agriculture field. I was actually an intern at Pella Cooperative in Pella, Iowa, and then they hired me full time. And through the years, I've just worked my way through agriculture, through the retailers. Actually, I remember the day that I ended up getting a phone call from Rich Howell, who was my old boss, and I remember getting a call from him saying, "Hey, we want to interview you for a regional agronomist position." And I was excited about it, and I thought, that what better opportunity for me to grow than to go to Stine and be an agronomist for them. And actually, I remember the day you and I were in Adel, Iowa, and you interviewed me. You and Rich interviewed me in your office, and that was 15 years ago now. And so, and it's just been going great ever since.
And so, point of reference to Knoxville is probably 20 minutes, half hour, kind of southeast of the capital of Des Moines.
Yeah, about 35
roughly.
minutes. Yep.
Yeah.
We are known for sprint car racing, and that's about the only thing we're known for, but we are known for sprint car racing.
I was going to say, that name might ring a bell with some people because it is a world-famous town in the world of sprint car racing.
Yeah, our town will double in size just during the Knoxville Nationals.
So, Dustin, you cover Region 4 for us, for Stine Seed Company. Give a little description of where is Region 4 geographically?
So Region 4, actually, I started in Des Moines, and then I go all the way up Interstate 35, and I kind of make a Y at Highway 20. So I go all the way east, past Iowa Falls, over that direction. I'll go all the way to the west then, and I go all the way up to Sioux City now, I guess. So just kind of a big Y, you might say, in central, north central, and then northwest Iowa.
Yeah, so pretty big swath of the part of central to northern part of the state.
Yeah. I'm fortunate I get to work with 13 different independent sales representatives.
So let's talk about the year that we've just been through here in 2024. So what are kind of the headline elements that took place in your region during the 2024 growing season in terms of challenges? What are they facing? What did they see in 2024?
Yeah, I think every year we say it, what a crazy year that we had, and I don't know that we ever have a normal year anymore.
Yep.
We did get off to a really, really good start in April. We had a couple weeks of really good weather, maybe a week of really good weather. Some guys ended up getting some stuff put in the ground. Things were looking really, really good for us. And then all of a sudden, the rain set in, and, it set in for 2-3 weeks, and it rained a lot, and we needed the rain really bad because all the parts of my area are honestly really dry. We're in a lot of droughty situations. We haven't had a lot of rain the last couple of years. Anyway, so it set in, and then we waited a few weeks, and then we got going again.
Yeah, so like you said, it's been dry in this part of the country for a long time, and then this year we got all the rain we needed. Maybe not at the right time, but we'll, as I said, you never turn it away, right? You'll take it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, not all of my area then did end up getting a lot of it. We had enough to get us started again, but unfortunately, the farther north and farther northwest you go, it just wanted to continue raining up there, and up that direction, it just extended out the planting season just that much longer, for those guys up there. And ended up being really bad flooding conditions up in that direction.
Yeah, especially in the extreme northwest quadrant up there. I remember, seeing a lot of flooded out field. They barely got it in and then got flooded out again. So again, too much of a good thing in some cases. So what are some of the successes you guys have seen here in Region 4 during this past growing season?
So for the way that the weather, has been this year, again, it's been kind of a tricky year for us. But overall, some of the successes is the crops look really, really good right now. And I think we're going to have some really good yield results coming out. Again, I think for the most part, things were put in the right way, and we did get the right rains when we needed them. And it's going to end up being really good for us.
Any standout stories as you're talking to growers? We're just, as you said, the season is probably a little more delayed than it normally is. Anything you're hearing from growers about products that they've got out there?
Yeah, so again, the Enlist E3 soybeans are just shining just like they have the last few years. Some of the standout products right now, like we have a 25 EG23 that's really standing out for guys. 17 EE32 is going to be another variety, a little bit earlier variety, but guys are very excited about getting into those. We did have a yield report already around the Fort Dodge area that we heard about this week of some 21 EE62s doing really, really well for us. So again, we're very excited. I think the beans are going to be there. I think the corn is going to be there, and it's going to be an exciting harvest for everybody.
So while you're talking about specific products, that leads into a question I was going to ask. We talk a lot on the Seedcast about you only get one chance to make that right decision on product. So I wondered if you could kind of step me through, as you talk with the customers that you work with, what are the steps you go through? How do you help them decide what are the right Stine products for their operation and their specific condition?
Yeah, the one big thing is, we have to be really good about asking questions. We ask a lot of questions. What kind of ground is our products going to be going on? What kind of farm? Just all the specific things. At that point, we have to be the ones to ask the questions, and we have to sit there and we have to listen. And if you listen, you will get the answers that you need in order to try to pick the right products for growers. And then from there, just with our past experience with our agronomy department, everybody knowing our ins and outs of all the products, we're able to make the best choice for the best acre.
So it's not always the one that won the local plot or the yield trials contest.
No, not always like that. It'd be a lot easier if it was that way, but no. And that is one thing, we always talk about, just like we just said, one product can be the best product you have this year. Next year, it might not be the best, so you have to look at multi-year data and try to figure out what's going to work for you. And again, what kind of ground are you putting it on, all the circumstances that go around growing that crop.
Switching gears a little, talking about corn, anything you're hearing from our MX series line of corn, which is, kind of our latest genetics we have in the field. Any reports in the field on any of that? Yeah,
we're very excited. We have a couple hybrids right now that are really standing out. We have a new MX 445-G that we're very excited about. Looking at it in the field right now, it just looks really good. The other one that always stands out for us is MX 709-20. Both those products, I think, are going to have a really good year. We're also excited about some of our new products that we're launching, for 2025, our 9755-20 and our 9754-20. Looking at those products last year and all of our plots and everything, and again looking at them this year, there's going to be a lot of hope with those, and we're excited about pushing those out to the growers.
And I know we talked with some of our agronomists here over the summer about things like product development plots. I assume in your area you've had some of those to be able to hopefully introduce new lines that are coming, right? Let people kind of walk in it and kind of have a look at it before they see it in the catalog.
Just hats off to our agronomy department. We have one of the best agronomy departments in the industry, in my opinion. And I'm fortunate enough to have, in my opinion, one of the best agronomists that we have, Tony Lenz, so he's been really really good. They've been really good about walking us through all the plots, and letting us have an opportunity to see things hands-on. And now we're doing the same thing with growers. And like you just said, growers are able to go out there. They're able to see it, feel it, smell it, do whatever they want to, and just see, what it's doing for us. And again, back to what we just talked about a little bit ago, we had those products in our trials last year. They did very well this year. They look very good again this year. So when we're choosing products for the best, the best product for the acre, you want to look at 2-3 years worth of data or information to do that for them. Back to, you don't want to just have the one that just did the best this year.
So while we're on that topic of, I guess kind of what brought my mind to that was the idea of year-to-year variability. But one of the things I was going to talk about is, as I said, we're both from right here in Iowa, and I'll say that I think sometimes I hear a lot of folks comment that Iowa is pretty homogeneous in the sense of flat black ground, right? And so given that you cover such a wide swath of Iowa, I guess how would you address the idea that every acre in Iowa looks and acts the same?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say that it is, but obviously it's not. But I am very blessed. I am in a good area in central Iowa, north central Iowa. We do have some really good black, soil. They always laugh, say it's 6 feet, 6 feet deep, you might say. But then, you go over into western Iowa, and there's hills over there and terraces over there. And I had a funny story when I first started back as an agronomist, roughly 15 years ago. We have a really good grower over in the Mapleton area, and I jumped in a combine with him. And I just remember that day I was scared to death riding on some of the side hills over there. And he even had a side hill John Deere combine, and he's just sitting there harvesting like no other. And I look like a cat trying to get out of a box, so there is a big difference, very good high producing ground, but completely different than some of the other areas that I'm at. When you go east on Highway 20, it changes over that way as well. Really good soil again. You get a lot more sand texture and stuff over that direction. So it's kind of a mixed everywhere. But for the most part, my area, I am very fortunate to have some really good farm ground.
So we talked briefly about the agronomy group. I know you're very skilled agronomically as well. So I was going to ask you about anything you're seeing, recent trends, things that are going on in your neck of the woods agronomically, either product-wise or practice-wise that are intriguing to you.
Seeing a lot more growers that are going to no-till, it seems like, here in the last couple of years, as far as and it's mostly on the soybeans. And I think because the reason a lot of guys have been doing that is just because of the fact, we have been so dry the last couple of years, so they're just trying to conserve all the moisture that they can conserve. Now I say that, but again, there's areas that I have that, no matter what, they'll turn it black and have it ready for spring next year as well. So that, I guess that's one big thing, is just a lot of the no-till a lot more no-till acres. Agronomically wise, every year you're always going to see, different diseases, it seems like. This year we, saw some different diseases than we had not seen for a lot of years. One of them being like southern corn rust, in the corn. Saw some sudden death again this year, which we hadn't seen sudden death for quite a few years. We actually even had producers that were spraying for soybean aphids, and we haven't seen soybean aphids. They haven't been a problem to say. I'm not saying we haven't seen them, but they haven't been a big problem for us for many years. Yeah, so just different things. The big hot topic right now, though, is going to be soybean gold midge. We're starting to see some of that show up here in Iowa. It's kind of a pest that has started in Nebraska, and it continues to work its way this way.
So you mentioned maybe some incidents of increase in no-till acres. So again, as you start to go into the fall and talk to your growers about next year's products, how does a decision like that impact? I mean, what does that impact in terms of deciding what products they need to be looking at?
Well, so back to our agronomy department and kind of what they're doing for us and stuff, we are looking at products in these PDP plots and out in the field, and we are, looking at products, and because of their knowledge and their expertise, they can help us to say, okay, whether this soybean or this corn product here maybe is a slower merger. Okay, so if it's a slower merger or something like that, you might want to keep it away from your no-till acres. Or if you're going to no-till it, it might be something you want to do a little bit later, because obviously the grounds will be a little bit cooler with no-till acres versus if it's turned black. So just things like that. It's just, again, it's about asking the questions and sitting there and not talking till they give you the answer. I know this is probably hard to believe, but sometimes that's hard for me to do. I want to just talk, but I just have to sit there and listen.
We've continued to see rapid change in all different aspects of agriculture. I guess as you look at the area that you serve, what do you think is going to be significant changes that are going to take place over the next 3 to 5 years in the area that you work?
I think in all the areas, and this is one thing that really intrigues me a lot, is the usage of drones. We see more and more drones, getting used, on application, chemistry applications, fungicide, insecticide applications, things like that. I think that is just so neat to see all that happening. And about every area I go to, there's companies that are, own their own drone business and are out there doing a lot of the, spraying. It takes a lot of drones to cover the amount of acres that need to be covered, but I think in time, you're going to see a lot more of that happening, and it's just pretty exciting. And there's so many benefits to it. You're going to get such better coverage out of a drone versus, like an airplane, for example. The other thing about it is it's only going to help preserve our chemistries and stuff a little bit longer as well. I mean, you can do better applications, possibly, not have to cover the whole field to where you can still, save and just help with, resistance issues that may come down the line someday by just being able to have different spot applications.
Yeah, definitely seeing more conversations about, like you said, drone applications for fungicide or insecticide or herbicide. And we've on a past episode of the Seedcast talked about some of the things that the research team's doing with drones, like maturity imagery and things like that, which is just almost unfathomable from just even a few years ago. So that's a good one. That probably is going to have a significant impact on our industry as we go forward. So as we look at harvest season, these days, I think in our business, the seed decision process is 365 days long as it relates to maturity and to traits and all those things. So as you have growers in the combine looking at this year's harvest, what should they be thinking about as they're thinking about their next year's seed purchase?
Well, again, they need to be out, thinking about the products that they're doing right now, how well they're doing right now. And what I would say is a rather good season. We had adequate rain. We had really good timing of the rain. If those products did well for them last year in kind of the droughtier conditions, I'm going to say, and they're doing again well for them again this year, it goes back to like we just talked about. You have 2 years of consistent data on consistent yield for these products. So that's obviously something you want to continue to look forward and using, so that's one big thing. I guess the other thing is just what is going to work with your rotations. What are you doing for crop rotation, and what do you need to fight or not to fight to combat the insects or whatever you're going to deal with on those acres and stuff. So.
Yeah, when it comes to weed profile and things like that, the combine you're in the catbird seat right at that point. You see where things worked, where things didn't, and that's a good time as any to take those notes and be thinking about how that impacts next spring. So you've been with us for a number of years. You're well versed in our products and our lineup. So when you introduce Stine to a new grower, what kinds of advice do you give them to make sure they're going to maximize their opportunity with our material, our genetics?
Well, one thing I always like to try to do is we always have growers that just say they'd like to just give me your best hybrid. Or give me your best hybrid, give me your best variety. Well, we just talked a little bit ago. Well, my best hybrid this year might not have been my best one last year, or might not be my best one next year. So what I really, really like to try to do is I really want a grower to at least choose two products from us, possibly 3 products from us, and all that's going to do is help his risk, and it's going to help our risk as well. One thing we always like to, talk to growers about is, we're not just here today. We just don't want to sell you a product today. We want to be here for the next, how many every year selling. We want to be the ones you look at as your seed source. We're not just going to sell you our best product. I guess back to the consistency thing, we look for the consistency, that kind of stuff. And just asking the right questions.
The starter's gun has gone off for us for the start of the 2025 season. We're looking ahead already to planting season and getting these genetics into the ground. So as you think about that, as we're underway now, what are your priorities for your region and for your sales reps you work with for Region 4 overall, priorities and goals?
Priorities and goals are just to be out talking to the growers, make sure we're getting the questions asked to them, getting all the information to them that we can provide to them, and just putting together a plan and coming back with that plan and to try again to get the best product on the acre for them. And just our goal is to make them money, and that's at the end of the day, that's what we have to do for the growers.
So as we wrap up here today, Dustin, I guess I'm just going to ask, as you look ahead to the next year or maybe 2 years, what are you most excited about as it relates to Stine operating in your region?
We're launching some new corn hybrids. We're launching our new, soybeans. Every year we continue to have new genetics on the soybean lineup, and we're doing the same thing on our corn lineup as well. We're just continuing to just get better and better every single year, and that just makes it exciting. The whole sales force just gets excited about that, to know that we have the products that are going to be the best, the best ones out there and the most competitive ones out there. It makes the team just very happy to know that you have that.
Well, Dustin, really appreciate you joining us on the Seedcast today and sharing your insights and your expertise about our home area right here in Iowa. Appreciate all you do for Stine and everything you and your team does to support Stine and our grower customers. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, David. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Stine Seedcast. To never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice. Have a question for our experts? Email asktheseedcast@stineseed.com to have your questions answered on a future episode. To learn more about Stine Seed Company, visit stineseed.com. And remember, Stine has yield.